Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over how to loop in Ruby. Whenever you're inside of a language, you're going to want to do things multiple times and loop over different values, different files, or other system inputs. So today we're going to go over that. I did find a really cool extension in VS Code, and you can see it on the screen here. It's called Code Runner. So if you look in the extensions, you can type in Code Runner and it'll be the first thing. What this lets us do is run code within VS Code, which is really cool. I just thought I'd bring that up. So we'll jump into it, close this tab. We'll create a new folder and do loops. From here, we will create a new file and nope, not like that. Create a new file under loops, call it loops.rb, and in here we'll just go over a few examples. So the first one is kind of your classic looping structure. Everything starts with for. In that case, for I, which is a variable, in, and we can just have a fixed array here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From here, we want to do a puts I, and that will output it to the screen. And we'll backspace to end. Now we'll do that Code Runner extension and run code. I'll use the keyboard shortcut here, but if you want to do it via your mouse, you can click on this and this will run and we can see the output. So we see the loop over each of these elements in our array. So in other languages, you might have to do, like in Java, new array list, but in Ruby, it's very short and expressive, and so you just have to use these brackets, and this will give you an array. So we can see all those elements printed out, which is cool. So let's do another version of an array. We'll do a little divider here of like hashtags, make sure we can separate the different versions. We will do another version where we have a more idiomatic way to loop, and so this actually starts with our array. And we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in Ruby, you can call .each and then pass it a block. And so to do that, you say do, and we'll use the same variable of I. And these are pipes, and this is going to be the value that we're going to have in our loop. So you can say puts I end, and then we can run this, see what our output is, and we can see that we get the first 5 from our first loop, and then the next 5 from our second loop. So if you're working in a Ruby on Rails project, you'll see this .each syntax way more often. This is more of an idiomatic Ruby, which is like how the language and the language designer intend for it to be used. Another way that we can go over, let's say we want to know which element within the array we're at. So like the index. Let's do another separator. Let's just copy this right here, move it down, and we'll do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 each, and then we're gonna use a different function called with index, and that's gonna let us have two different variables. So we still have I, and then we also have index, and so you just need to separate those with a comma. Do the same puts, and in here we're going to have two things, so let's make it a little bit more descriptive. And I, we're going to interpolate that I into a string here. And then index, we will have as index. Let's run this. And you can see we have the first two as we expect, and then we print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the I value, which is the value out of the array, and then the index of it. So let's say you wanted to, swap out each of the 2 and 4 or like even indexes. You could do that by having an if statement in here and doing something like that. So just another example. Let's do this divider again. I'll show you a couple more ways that we can loop in Ruby. Another way is to use a range. And so you use parentheses, and to get all the values, you would do 1 and 2 dots, 5. If you didn't want to include 5, you would do 3 dots, but we actually want to have them all be the same. Then you call the same syntax with a block, puts our output, and if we run this, we can see the same output right after our index output. So again, In Ruby, there's a bunch of different options to do the same thing, and this is a showcase of exactly that. It's very expressive. Another way we could do this is do 5.times, and this would loop over 5 times. It's going to be a little different because the values we get are going to start with 0. So if we do a puts of I, end, and if we run this, then you see we start with 0, and so if we wanted to replicate the same numbers, we would have to do like a +1 here. So if you want to do something typically where you don't have this value and you want to do something 5 times, let's say puts hello 5 times, then this is a little bit more applicable for doing something like that. Let's also get into a couple other useful language features, which is to pull out or like select values, and then also to map over or change an array in a certain way. So the first one, we're gonna do our array again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dot select, and this is gonna take a block. And so we'll use a different variable here, x. If x is not equal to 3, then we don't want to use it. So from here we can say dot each do, use our same I value, and puts I. So think about what this is actually doing here. So we have an array of 1 through 5. We're going to select all the ones that don't equal 3, and then we're going to print them out. So what we should expect here is 1, 2, and 4, 5. So let's see if we get that. And we do. So this is a way if you want to exclude values and you don't want to add a bunch of temporary variables to do that. So select is very powerful. There's other names for it, but we'll stick with this one. All right. And the last one that we'll cover today is map. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dot map. This also takes a block. And let's say we wanted to add 1 to each element in our array. So this is going to loop over our array and run this operation on it. So x is going to be each one of these values, and it's going to add 1 to each one of them. So if we loop over it to print, then we should see 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's see if we get that. And we do. All right. Awesome. So that's everything I wanted to cover for today. Just some looping on Ruby. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something, please like and subscribe, and I'll do another one of these videos soon. Thank you.